በጣም ይቅርታ እንደገና የገባሁበት ምክንያት አለኝ። የአንድ ቪዲዮ ስለደረሰኝ ነው። ስለ ተባበሩት መንግስታት ስለ ምግብ እውነተኛ ረሀብተኞች ሬፊጂ ውስጥ ያሉት በትክክለኛ ንጹሐን ዜጎች እንደሆኑ ለአንዳንድ ሰዎች ንጹሐን ዜጎች እንዳልተሰደዱ፣ እንዳልተራቡ፣ እንዳልተጎዱ፣ እንዳልተጨነቁ ለሚያስቡ ለጠየቁኝ ኢንቦክስ ለሚያደርጉኝ ሰዎች በአጠቃላይ ይሄ ቪዲዮ እንድታዩት ነው እንደገና የገባሁት ላሰማችሁ።
Welcome. My name is Hannah Joy Gebrselassie, and like many of you, I've been following the situation happening in Ethiopia and wanted to bring in someone who's working on the front lines on the ground to weigh in more on the situation. Today, we are joined by Chris Melser, Senior External Relations Officer and spokesperson for the UNHCR in Ethiopia. Chris, welcome, and thank you and UNHCR for all the work you do across Ethiopia as well as around the world.
Thank you very much.
First of all, we would love to just get a better understanding of what UNHCR is, the mission behind that, and then if you could tell us more about your specific role.
Well, UNHCR is 70 years old. We just had birthday, and we were founded just after the Second World War to take care of the refugees who were mostly in Europe at that time. And the people thought, 3 or 6 years, then we don't need that organization anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, that was wrong. You have now much more refugees than we had ever before in our 70 years history. So about 80 million people who are displaced, and we are taking care of many of them in 135 countries of the world. So we are a UN organization. We are one of the biggest relief organizations of the world. We received twice the Nobel Peace Prize.
Your specific role is, I understand, the Senior External Relations Officer, as well as sort of a spokesperson with UNHCR Ethiopia. Can you elaborate more on your role?
This is exactly a spokesperson, actually. This is my job here. So it is my job to inform people like you, people like your audience, about the situation here. We receive a lot of questions. I mean, not everybody can go to Ethiopia, but the people are very interested about the situation here. And at least we can inform how the situation of the refugees is, and also of the IDPs, the eternal displaced persons. These are like refugees in their own country. Of the international law, the term refugee means that you are not in your own country. But there are, of course, also people who have fled their hamlet, their town, their city, their soil, but they are still in Ethiopia, and we also try to take care of these people.
Yeah, we've certainly been reading a lot about this, of course, watching what's been going on, and we, send our love and our prayers to Ethiopia, to Eritrea, and Horn of Africa, really this entire world. But at this moment, we know that there is this conflict and this crisis happening in northern Ethiopia, in the Tigray region. What can you sort of tell us from an overview perspective of what's been happening there?
Well, the fighting started 2.5 months ago, and we can't really talk about it with first-hand information because we had to leave in early November. And that's why UNHCR was not that present as we wanted to be. There were some of our colleagues, the Ethiopian colleagues, they remained in that area, and they also gave out some relief items, but they had not much, and that's why they were in the same situation like the refugees, and also like many Ethiopians in Tigray. So lack of food, lack of clean water, and a very insecure situation. And we had 2 refugee camps in the north and 2 in the south. I visited several times in 2 in the south. The situation is very dire there because the people were cut off from any supply for almost 2 months. So they had no food and they had no clean water. They went to the river, or it's actually more a muddy creek, and took the water for washing, for cooking, and even for drinking. And that's why the illnesses like diarrhea are very common, especially with children, to southern camps. And believe it or not, although the situation is so dire, these were actually the lucky ones, because in the northern part, we don't know. Again, we do not have first-hand information, but we saw satellite pictures. We heard reports from refugees and so on. It seems like the 2 northern camps were destroyed. At least one was burned down. Many of the refugees are now close to the town of Shire, living under unthinkable conditions, actually. So they're sleeping in the open field, drinking water from puddles, eating tree bark, and we want to help, but we still have no access yet.
Wow. Oh, that's truly devastating. And when we talk about these refugees, I know that the numbers that we've seen have been upwards towards 60,000. Is that the amount, or is it greater? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing?
When we're talking about the Ethiopian refugees who are in Sudan, who fled Ethiopia and who are now in Sudan, this figure had just passed 60,000. This is absolutely correct. But we had already tens of thousands of Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia. So they are still there. Part of them are in these two southern camps I have mentioned. But many others are somewhere in Tigray, seeking protection, seeking food or so. So the situation it's actually terrible. And I talked about these so-called internal displaced persons, so Ethiopians who are refugees in Ethiopia, if you like. We don't know the number yet, but these are at least hundreds of thousands, and maybe this figure reaches 1 million.
That's heartbreaking. And to get a better understanding, there's so much out there, as you know, and everyone is really trying to get a better grasp of, well, what's really going on, or how much access do you all really have in this current moment? I know you mentioned that you've been able to reach the southern camps. Is it true that there's also access in Mekelle now? Can you verify that, and can you elaborate more on just the state of the access?
Not really. For the two southern camps, yes, we just received our hall pass, or how you want to call it, so we can go there without the need to that every step is allowed. So we really can work there now. And that's why we hope that the situation in the two southern camps, they're called Mayaini and Ali Harouche, and this home of about 30,000 people, will increase soon. So we're really working on it, and we're doing whatever we can. With the two northern camps, still absolutely no access, zero. And Mekelle, we hope that we can maybe even this week, we can go to an assessment mission to Mekelle. But these are only our experts who check the situation, who see what is needed, how dire is the situation. So we're not talking about trucks with food or clean water or the what we call core relief items like mattresses, sleeping bags, or something like that. So it's just starting right now that we get some access to Mekelle. And so again, we hope to receive access still this week, but only for the assessment team, not really yet for the big trucks.
And how about communications? Is it true that it is starting to get restored in Mekelle, but still not in the surrounding rural neighborhoods? I know people who still haven't been able to get in touch with their family members, more than 80 days. So is that still the case in Mekelle, or what's going on there?
I have even heard that in Mekelle the situation was worse the last days. So it was restored after a while, and it was kind of good in early January, but in the last days it went worse. We don't know it on purpose or maybe just technical problems, but the communication is still a big problem in the whole area of Tigray, in the north much more than in the south. But even in the south, it's very difficult to communicate. Absolutely, yes.
And let's talk about that a little bit more. We see that there are sort of limitations, or there are, there's a lack of access, and we know that humanitarian groups and concerned family members around the world are asking to get more access. What do you all believe is the administration's sort of hesitation or pushback in allowing full access into the region? Are there potential reasons there that you could harp on? What are the roadblocks, do you think, with that?
Well, It's not really easy to go up there because you have many checkpoints, and the checkpoints want to see approval from the government here in Addis Ababa. And we are asking almost every day for approval for one of that we can go up north. What they're telling us is that the security situation is still not in that state that that it's totally safe for us to go. I mean, we don't want to put ourselves in danger without any doubt, and that's why this is a good point actually. On the other hand, the refugees out there, and again, we are speaking about tens of thousands, about men and women and many children. They are in the absolutely same situation. So that's why we really want to go up there to help these people. This is our mandate we have from the General Assembly of the United Nations. So this is our job, our duty, our we have to do that, and that's why we want to go up there.
Yeah. Well, we again thank you all for being on the front lines, and then I know that we've seen reports of at least 4 humanitarian aid workers who lost their lives trying to provide aid, and so we definitely hope you all stay safe while you're executing this mission. And we appreciate you sort of weighing in on that. And is it precedent for you all to go into these types of zones? Like historically, is this something that you all have experience with, especially while there is still some fighting reportedly going on?
Absolutely. This is not really new for us. I think the everyday job of a typical UNHCR worker is that he's working in dire condition, but in a kind of peaceful environment. So yes, this is different, but it's not unusual for us. So we are working in Syria, for example, and in many other countries who are war-torn, and that's why I think this is not that new for us. When I was up there in the southern camps, it was kind of peaceful, although we saw many people with weapons, with guns, with Kalashnikovs or something. But also in the northern part, if there's fighting, we're coming with the clear marked convoys, so everybody can see that we are not a party, not part of this fighting, and that's why I think it is a risk, sure, but a risk we are willing to take.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know you all issued a statement recently saying that UNHCR reiterates the UN-wide call for full and impeded access to all refugees in the Tigray region and remains committed to work with the Ethiopian government to seek solutions together. We stress again that swift action to restore safe access are needed now to save thousands of lives at risk. So when you say, committed to seeking these solutions together, what does that look like?
Well, to say in one sentence, every day counts. Actually, every hour counts. Again, there are people who are drinking water which they know it's not clean, it's not good for them, but they have no other water. Mm-hmm. People are eating parts of trees because there's nothing else they can eat, and again, even children. So we're not talking about just grown-ups, even children. So, and we have a mandate to protect these people, to take care of these people, and we have the things we need right here in Addis. So we can go tomorrow, and that's why we're asking again and again for access to these areas.
And we certainly hope that that happens, so you're able to again provide aid for all of these individuals. And there have been some rumors about some of these refugees being part of a group of rebels or a group of criminals, and so there's been there's some criticism around, oh well, they're going to provide support for these individuals. Can you verify this? I mean, the people that you all are serving, from what we're seeing is, there's all these accounts from refugees. But again, is there anything you can speak to on that for the people who say that, oh, UNHCR is helping criminals or accusing you all of doing such things when you're really helping people, like you said.
Yeah, no. So I haven't heard any of these stories that refugees are rebels or criminals or something, and I would wonder with what actually. They have no guns, maybe sticks or something. So I have never heard stories like that. And of course, we're not supporting any of the parties up there. We are taking care of the people who are in need. Imagine there's a car accident. And there are 3 or 4 injured people. We are the guys with the ambulance. We are the guys who are helping, who are taking care that these 4 guys who are injured would survive. We don't care which one caused the accident or something, or is maybe one of the guys, someone was too fast or something like that. We are protecting and helping refugees, but I have never heard these rumors or stories or allegations or whatever that refugees are criminals. In the contrary, when we talk to the refugees, food and water was not the main concern, actually. Believe it or not, that was not the main concern. The main concern was that quite often armed groups come to the camps and looting the camps. That's what I heard dozens of times, actually, but never that the refugees are the criminals.
Well, thank you for elaborating on that. I think that will sort of help people get a better understanding of this situation and the important work that you all are doing. And so, as we come to a conclusion with this conversation, you all said that you do have a lot of materials and IDs ready to get delivered and distributed. And many people around the world want to help. And I know that, people have been donating. People have even started their own funds to raise money. Can you talk about where that funding goes to when people do make those donations?
Yeah, so we still have the problem that we are totally underfunded. We have a budget of $8 billion. Sounds pretty nice, but we receive only about half of it, so 4.1 billion per year. Biggest donor, by the way, is the United States. Thank you very much for this. Without the help from America, we could probably switch off the light and can go home. Second biggest donor is my home country, Germany. I'm a little proud about that, but without these governments, taxpayers' money, yes, taxpayers' money, we couldn't do our job. On the other hand, 80 million people, $4 billion, so we're talking about $50 per person and year. So for hopefully food, for clean water, for maybe some clothes, and hopefully for the children also a school book and teacher or something like that. So this is not really enough money. That's why we are very, very grateful for everybody who is giving money on a monthly basis, or maybe just in a box or something like that. Without this money, we couldn't do our job. What we are doing normally, or what is most important with the money, is of course food and clean water, because without these things you can't do anything. Second priority is shelter. You need some roof, even here where the sun is shining, or maybe because the sun is shining, you need some roof. And as just mentioned, kind of education is also very important. If we can afford that, we want to give that to the children. I've heard very often from refugees, not only in Ethiopia, also in Syria and in Bangladesh and even in Germany, telling me, don't care for us, we are a lost generation, but do something that our children have a future. Well, we don't want to accept that there is a lost generation, so we're also doing something for the grown-ups. But yes, we would like to help the children as well.
Absolutely, the children are certainly our future, and that's important. And what other ways can people support other than monetary donations? Do you have any other suggestions for people who may want to support?
I mean, the giving money it's extremely important. So in-kind donations, like someone that says, well, I have an old bike and it's still good or something, this is very difficult for us because the logistic problems are just too big to carry that from America or even from Kenya, the next door country or something. So that's why monetary donations are very important. But there's also a program, for example, called UN Volunteers. So if someone really thinks, I want to support that with my own hands, and I want to see that with my own hands, this is also an option to come to a situation, hopefully when you bring some important skills like languages or good education or something, to support the work of UNHCR or other UN organizations. So this is very, very welcome.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. And just, you know, final question, where do we go from here? And I would like to know what keeps you going in the midst of everything, because it's certainly not easy to be where you're at. So where do we go, and what keeps you hopeful?
Where are we going it's a very difficult question, because we're in the beginning of a new year, and if I imagine in the last years, 2020, 2019, 2018, all the last years, as I made any predictions at the beginning of the year, they all were totally wrong. So it's very difficult to say what's coming. We have the situation in Syria now for 10 years, and I really hope that there will be peace one day. And this is also the country where most of the refugees are coming from worldwide. The question was, keeps me going? Well, I'm with UNHCR because I know the story of a little girl. She was 9 years old. She had to flee from the war together with her two sisters, and they were almost shot by someone. And they were also without food and without protection. And the worst thing for this 9-year-old girl was actually that she lost her little doll that was made by her mother. This was a story that touched me a lot, and that for my whole life, actually, because I'm not talking about someone from Tigray or Syria or Afghanistan. I'm talking about my mother. She's turning 85 in a couple of days. I can't help her anymore. But that was her fate 75 years or 76 years ago at the end of the war in Europe. There's still a lot of other 9-year-old girls out there, and 9-year-old boys and other children and other grown-ups who really need our support. And this is probably the one thing that has to keep us going. So we need to support these people. They're not asking for much. We are not asking for much, actually. We need to help these people. I see it as a duty for us, and I'm happy for everybody who supports this thought.
Thank you again for that message. Again, everyone, we were joined by Chris Meltzer, Senior External Relations Officer for UNHCR, who is on the front lines in Ethiopia. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we just ask that you stay protected and continue the great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
ቴንኪዩ። እኔም እንግዲህ ቴንኪዩ ላለው ስላዳመጣችሁት። እንዳያችሁት ነው የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት እስካሁን ድረስ እንዲገቡ አልፈቀደላቸውም። ከ60 ሺህ በላይ ሪፊውጂ አሉ። አዲስ አበባ ውስጥ ተዘጋጅተው ለመርዳት የዓለም መንግስታት ሬዲ ሆነው እያሉ የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ግን ትግራይ እንዳትረዳ ህዝቡ በልቶ እንዳይነሳ የፈለገበት ምክንያት የዘር ማጥፋት አላማ ነው ስንል ውሸት እንዳልሆነ አትሊስት ትንሽ ሁልጊዜ ከውጭ ሀገር ሰዎች ነው እኛ እምነት የሚኖረን በራሳችን ሲነገረን ስለማንቀበል ለሁለተኛ አሁን ስለደረሰኝ ነው ቪዲዮውን ዋው ይሄን እያወራሁ ነበረ። ስለዚህ መስማት አለባቸው ብዬ ነው እና አይ ሆፕ እንደምትረዱት በደንብ በጣም የሚያሳዝነው የራሱ ህዝብ በራሱ መንግስት እንዲራብ ለዛውም የውጭ ሀገር የተባበሩት መንግስታት እናብላቸው እናጠጣቸው ሲል አትገቡም የሚል መንግስት ፍርዱን ለራሳችሁ ለእናንተ ሰጣለሁ። ሌላው ለዩኤን እርዳታ በመስጠት ለትግራይ የሚልም አለ። ብዙዎች አሁን ሲሪያም አለ፣ በጣም የተለያየ ቦታ አለ። ዶኔት እንድታደርጉ አበረታታችኋለሁ። ምክንያቱም እኛ የምንሰራውን ስራ ነው እነሱ እየሰሩልን ያሉት እና በገንዘቡን በማስገባት ያለንን ነገር በማካፈል እንተባበር። ሌላው ድምጽ እንሁን። ምግብ እንዲገባ መንግስት መፍቀድ አለበት። ህዝቡን በረሃብ እንዲሞት አንተወው። ሁላችንም እውነት የትግራይ ህዝብ ቁስል ይገባናል የምንል ከሆነ ሁላችንም ድምፅ እንድንሆን ሰው የሆናችሁ ሁሉ ህሊና ያላችሁ በሙሉ እንድትጮሁ ለዚህ ረሃብተኛ ለዚህ በጦርነት ለተፈረደበት ሞት ለተፈረደበት እንዲሞት ለተፈረደበት ህዝብ ምግብ እንዲገባ ድምፅ እንሁን። ባንኮች እንዲከፈቱ ድምፅ እንሁን። የራሳቸውን ገንዘብ አውጥተው እንዲበሉና እግዚአብሔር የፈጠራት ነፍስ ኑሪ እስካላት እንድትኖር ሰው እንዳይከለክላት መንግስት እንዳይከለክላት ድምፅ እንሁን። ጌታ ኢየሱስ ይባርካችሁ። ለዚህ ነው እንደገና ለሁለተኛ የገባሁት። አመሰግናለሁ። ለሚመለከታቸው በሙሉ ሼር አድርጉ። ድምፅ እንሁን። ሰላም እደሩልኝ።